Somewhere out there is a charitable trust or foundation whose entire purpose is to give money away and to give it to work exactly like yours. It has funds set aside for this year, a committee that genuinely wants to say yes, and a short list of causes it cares deeply about. And yet most small charities either never apply or send bids that get quietly turned down, not usually because the work was weak, but because the application never quite showed the funder what it needed to see. This video is about fixing that. It is about the basics of grant writing, winning funding from charitable trusts and foundations, treated not as a lottery you enter and hope, but as a craft you can genuinely learn. To be clear, this is about philanthropic grant makers, the trusts and foundations that fund charitable work, not the Google ad grant and not government business grants. One honest note before we begin. This channel is educational only, and nothing here is legal, tax, or fundraising compliance advice. I cannot promise you a single grant or a single dollar because no honest person can. And when you use the stories of the people you serve, use them with their consent and dignity, because their trust matters more than any bid. Start with the funder. The most common mistake in grant writing happens before a word is written, starting with your own need instead of the funder. It is tempting to write one heartfelt application about your need and send it to 50 trusts at once. But every funder is different. Each one has its own priorities, the causes, places, and kinds of work it exists to support, and it says so quite openly. So do the reading first. Before you apply anywhere, learn what that funder actually pays for, who they want to help, how much they typically give, the area they cover, and the sort of projects they have backed in the past. Most trusts publish all of this, and the grants they made last year tell you more than any mission statement. Reading their priorities is the single thing that separates a bid with a real chance from one that was never going to fit. 15 minutes spent understanding one funder is worth more than 15 letters fired blindly into the dark. Apply only where you fit. Once you understand a funder, be honest about one hard question. Do you genuinely fit what they are looking for, or are you trying to force it? The temptation, especially when money is tight, is to bend your project to match whoever has cash to give, dressing up your work as something it is not. Funders see this constantly, and they can tell. An application that twists a charity's real mission to chase a pot of money reads as vague and slightly desperate, and it almost always fails. The stronger, calmer path is to apply only where the fit is real, where what you already do lines up naturally with what the funder already wants to support. This means you will apply to fewer funders, and that is a good thing. A handful of well-chosen trusts whose priorities match your work will always beat a mountain of hopeful bids to funders who were never going to see themselves in what you do. Your case for support. At the heart of every strong application is something fundraisers call the case for support. It is not a form. It is your clear, compelling answer to a simple question a funder is always asking. Why does this work matter? And why should we pay for it? A good case for support says who you help and what problem they face, what you do about it, the difference that makes in real lives, and why your charity can be trusted to deliver. Write it once, properly, in plain and confident language, and you will draw on it for every bid you make. A weak application talks mostly about the charity, how long you have existed, how hard you work, how much you need. A strong one talks about the people you serve and the change you create for them. The funder is not investing in your organization for its own sake, but in the difference you make in the world. Make that difference the beating heart of your case, and the rest of the application becomes far easier to write. Show the need is real. A funder will not simply take your word that a problem exists. They need to see it is real in the specific place and among the specific people you serve. This is your evidence of need, and it turns a heartfelt claim into a convincing one. Reach for two kinds of proof and use both. First, a little hard evidence, a local statistic, a waiting list, a figure that shows the scale of the problem in your area. Second, the human side, a short quote that shows what the problem looks like in one person's life. Numbers prove the need is widespread. A human voice proves it is real. You should never invent or inflate a figure because funders' check and trust is quickly lost. A few honest, well-chosen pieces of evidence showing the need is genuine, local, and not already being met by someone else are enough to make a funder lean in. Outcomes, not just activities. Here is the distinction that lifts a bit above the pile, and most first-time applicants miss it. Funders do not fund activities, they fund outcomes. An activity is what you do, the classes you run, the meals you serve, the sessions you hold. An outcome is what changes because you did it. The person who found work, the child now reading at their age, the family no longer going hungry. A weak application lists activities and quietly assumes the funder will see why they matter. A strong one names the change. Do not just say you will run 20 workshops. Say that because of those workshops, this many people will gain a skill and the confidence to use it. Wherever you can, show how you will know the change happened, the simple thing you will count. Funders give money to make a difference, so speak in the language of difference. When you describe the change your work creates, not only the busy work of creating it, you are answering the real question every funder holds in mind. What will our money actually do? A simple, honest budget. Nothing worries a funder like a budget that does not add up, and nothing reassures them like one that clearly does. Your budget is where they check whether you are careful and trustworthy with money, so keep it simple and honest. List the real cost of the work you are asking them to fund, itemized clearly so they see where every dollar goes. Make sure the numbers total correctly, because a sum that is wrong quietly suggests the rest of the bid might be too. Include the full cost of the work, not just the direct costs, but the fair share of the running costs that make it possible. Be honest if you are seeking money from other funders as well, because trusts expect it and often prefer to give alongside others. And never pad the figures to grab a little extra. Ask for what the work genuinely costs, no more and no less. A clear, honest budget that adds up does something quiet but powerful. It tells the funder that if they trust you with their money, you will look after it. Tell one clear story. By now your application has several parts: the case for support, the evidence, the outcomes, the budget. The final craft is to make them tell one clear story, not sit as disconnected sections. The need you describe should be the need your outcomes fix. The outcomes should be exactly what your budget pays for. The activities should be the natural way you get from that need to that change. When someone on the funding committee reads your bid from top to bottom, it should feel like a single coherent thread. This is the problem. This is what we will do. This is the difference it will make, and this is what it costs. Beware of the bid stitched together from old documents, where the need points one way and the budget another. That disjointed feeling makes a funder uneasy. So before you submit, read the whole thing through as one piece and ask, does this hang together as a single, honest story? If it does, you have made it easy to believe. Follow their exact instructions. This next one costs nothing and quietly wins or loses more bids than anything else. Follow the funder's instructions exactly. If they ask a specific question, answer that question, not the one you wish they had asked. If they set a word limit, stay inside it, because going over signals their rules do not quite apply to you. If they want particular documents, send precisely those in the format they asked for. And if there is a deadline, treat it as real, because most funders simply will not read a bid that arrives late. None of this is hard, but it takes care, and that is exactly the point. A funder reading your application is quietly asking whether you are the kind of organization that does what it says. Following their instructions to the letter is your first chance to prove you are. Before you press send, check your bid against their guidelines, line by line, as if you were the one deciding. Mistakes that sink a bid. It helps to know the mistakes that get bids rejected, because most are avoidable, and now you can see them coming. The first is applying to the wrong funder, whose priorities you never really matched. The second is writing all about activities and never naming the outcomes, so the funder cannot see what their money would change. The third is a vague, padded, or wrong budget that makes them doubt your care with money. The fourth is ignoring the guidelines, answering a different question, or missing the deadline. And underneath several of these sits the deepest one, making the whole thing about your charity's need instead of the difference you make for the people you serve. Notice that almost none of these are about the quality of your work. They are about how the bid was written and chosen, which is the encouraging part, because everyone is inside your control. Avoid these, and you are already ahead of most applications a funder will read. But recap, let us bring it together. Start with the funder, not the form, and read their priorities before you write a word. Apply only where the fit is genuine, and be willing to approach fewer, better matched trusts. Build one strong case for support that answers why your work matters and who it helps. Show that the need is real with a little honest evidence, both numbers and the human voice. Write in outcomes, the change you create, not just the activities you run. Put it all on a simple, honest budget that adds up and is never padded. Make the whole bid tell one clear story, from need to change to cost. Follow the funder's instructions to the letter, and never miss a deadline. And steer clear of the common mistakes, most of which are about the writing, not the work. Grant writing is not a magic gift some charities are born with and others are not. It is a craft, and like any craft, it rewards care, honesty, and a little practice. You will not win every bid, and you should never pretend a grant is guaranteed, because even a strong application can be turned down when the money runs out that round. So do not take a no to heart. Learn what you can, thank the funder, and apply again, because persistence is part of the craft too. But if you research your funders, apply only where you truly fit, and write clearly about real need and real change, your work will start to win the funding it deserves. If this way of working is useful to you, subscribe for more practical charity marketing you can actually use, and take a look at the companion written guide linked below where I lay these steps out in more detail. I will keep turning them into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.